Rebecca and I first met at Grace Hopper, the largest gathering of women technologists in North America. And so you all know Rebecca as the incredible fashion designer and founder of an iconic brand. And I was privileged to get to see Rebecca as the incredible leader she is. And we were on a panel talking about the importance of STEM, and I started learning her story and what she values. And what I learned was that Rebecca is a leader who is disrupting an entire industry with how she's leading in the new, but doing so, building a company based on really core values and making huge contributions to the community through her focus on women in STEM and other things that you're going to hear about in terms of what she's supporting in her community and around the world. And so today, Rebecca agreed to come and share a little bit about her story. And so thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
Great. So we talked earlier that we have in the room today and watching around the world today's leaders, tomorrow's leaders, and the day after tomorrow's leaders. So really a wide spectrum of women at different careers. And so I thought it would be great to take you back to when you came to New York City at 18.
Yep.
And how you made that decision to come and what led up to the founding of your company, and tell that story and how you made the decision.
So I made the decision. My parents, even though they had my dad was a doctor, my mom was a nurse, they raised us with a mentality that if we wanted something, we had to fund it ourselves, go after it ourselves. So my whole life was about, if you want something, go figure out how you're going to do it. And when I was exploring college options, I thought I wanted to be a geneticist. I went on one college tour and I said, you know what? I don't think this is for me. I think I really love fashion. I'd been sewing since I was a young girl, and they said, okay, well, go do it. And that they sort of gave me the okay that I would have to figure out where I was going to live and how I was going to pay my bills. So my brother knew a designer in New York, and they said, we offer paid internships. You get $6 an hour. And I said, screw it, I'm going to move to New York, and I'm going to take this internship and delay college and really just start working. I had a fire and a passion that I wanted to get into the business as soon as possible. And so I did that internship, ended up getting hired by them, studying at night at FIT. And then when I was 21, the CEO had made a deal with me, and she was a huge mentor. And she said, if you get your work done and there's time left in the day, this was kind of pre-internet, so it's not like I could go online and search or go on my Instagram feed and kill time. She said, you can work on your own line. So I would get my work done very quickly and start working on the building of my own collection. And at 21, I had my first fashion show the evening before 9/11. And 9/11 happened, and obviously the landscape changed completely. And I said to her, I have to go down and help, and I can't come into work. And she said, okay, do it. And then I didn't want to come back. I felt like it was time for me, after volunteering for weeks, to really just go out and be on my own. I had done one shirt. It was an I Love New York shirt that I had cut up and bedazzled. That was a big trend then. Hopefully it never comes back. And so this actress wore it on Jay Leno. She said my name. I was giving all the proceeds to the Red Cross. And that fire that made me sew these T-shirts and cut them up in my fifth floor walk-up every day for 9 months is what got my name out there. But it really showed me that, with a little foot in the door, there'd be more opportunity. So for 4 years, I myself and one other designed and made the collection. It was not easy. I could not sustain my business. I could not pay my bills. I would have the Con Ed Teamsters waiting outside. They do come if you don't pay, I'll have you know. And they're scary. So after 4 years, I was kind of getting to the point where between my own clothing line and styling on the side that I could not keep this business going. And I said, let me just try an accessory. Let me do one handbag and add it to the line and see what happens. And for whatever reason, that handbag resonated with the consumer in a way that my clothing at the time never had. And there was definitely a lot of fire behind it. So it wasn't just me pushing, this rock up a hill. It was, these women falling in love with the bag. And so I called my father and I said, can I borrow some money? I think I finally figured out how to have a business. And he was like, absolutely not. Which wasn't a shock because that was my whole life. But he said, call your brother might help you. My brother was happy, living in Florida, had a software company, had a great life, and I called him and I was like, I think I need your help. I think I finally had a taste of success. And so he started a very much like a mentorship role, how much is your order? Okay, I'll give you half that. And slowly he could see that there actually was a huge opportunity with this company. He ended up, after 5 years of flying back and forth and never seeing his kids, moving his whole family here, and that was 10 years ago. And today, we have the largest brand with a female millennial at the helm. So that's kind of the quick story.
And your brother was a partner and brought something to you that you needed. So how do you think about that collaboration and sort of how you've built this brand through the combination of strengths?
I think what my brother brought was definitely a business savvy, math skills that I compare to Albert Einstein, and an intuition with technology that has really led to our growth. And so, back when Facebook, before it was open to everybody, or Twitter was just starting, or blogs were just starting, or forums were just starting, I saw, oh, my customer's online, should I reach out to them? And everyone else in our industry was like, it's dirty, it's beneath you to talk to your customer. Why would you work with a blogger? They're disgusting. We had interventions with heads of department stores that would say, what are you doing? Don't talk to these people or work with them. And my brother had a comfort with technology, and he said, this is the new frontier. Let's fully dive in. And I was like, I'm going to dive with you. And from there, we really were able to break down barriers and be in touch directly with her and talk to her, know what she likes, know what she's thinking, and keep that dialogue going with each new social channel that offered that opportunity.
And you're not just using social channels, but you really truly are disrupting the industry in the store and how you're interacting with the customers. So can you share like sort of the vision you have, and then, I mean, it's amazing what you've done, the interactive mirrors and all of this, but it's how it's what it is and how it is in fact disrupting the industry.
I think when we began to look at launching our first brick and mortar store, we knew that the model was broken. And we knew that if we were going to go into this environment, that it couldn't be the same old, let's put up a store and hope that people come shop. And I think we began to look at all the pain points that women have when they're shopping. Either you want to be waited on hand and foot, or I'm the person, don't talk to me, I know what I don't want your opinion, I don't want to talk to you about how my day is, I want to get in and get out. Then we began to explore what are the pain points in a dressing room. There's the, oops, I didn't get the right size. Okay, let me get dressed. It's a blizzard, so I got to put everything back on, go outside, look for the associate. To you not believing that the associate says they don't have the size because maybe they don't want to go downstairs. So we began to just say, what are all those things that as a woman really prohibit shopping? And as a retailer, what is all this data that is so valuable that you can't gather in a dressing room, that you can gather online, and how could we sort of bring those two, the best of online and the best of offline together? So we created, when you walk into our store, and I encourage you to visit it, when you walk in, you can begin shopping. It's kind of a giant iPad. You can actually start building your fitting room there. The associate will know by your behavior if you want to be addressed or not. Everything that is in the store is tagged with an RFID tag. So the minute you go into the dressing room, the mirror becomes a touchscreen. There are no cameras in the room. And basically, you can start bringing in items. You can see what sizes are available. You can call for a size. You can see what I suggest you pair with that outfit, because again, a woman will say, I like this top, but what do I wear with it? So I'm there in the dressing room with you, and you can check out from the dressing room if you're signed in with PayPal. So we really wanted to make it a convenient offering so that the consumer could really guide how she wants to be treated, but also be able to pull up her account anytime, see what she's bought, see what's available and in stock in stores, and really take the offline and online experience and make them one. We've since taken it a couple steps further. We now offer self-checkout, so a lot of the judgment, maybe the pretty woman moment that some women feel when they walk into a store, we've tried to remove from the equation, so you can now self-checkout and leave the store. And then we also partnered with Avery Dennison recently and with a company called Janella, where we're now trying to get this thing that you carry with you all the time. We want to encourage you to share that you like it, to keep wearing it. So for our LA fashion show, there were 12 bags powered by Janella, where those bags will continue to unlock new experiences for you, almost like a customer rewards. You are rewarded for carrying the bag. The more you carry it, the more experiences and offers and incentives it's going to unlock. And we have goals to expand that. So the more you carry my bags in the future, maybe you get a discount at the hotel or you get a discount with Uber. Those are not in work yet, but that's kind of where we're going, so that your bag is also working for you.
So isn't that amazing? I mean, now you can understand why she was a huge draw at Grace Hopper. Okay, but what's the team that you have built around this? So, I mean, I know you very much believe it's not about, one person or two people,
Yeah.
but can you talk about, how you've built the team and what are the different, skills and ways you think about, who needs to be on your team to create, this incredibly innovative experience that you're bringing to your customers?
Well, the one thing I'm proud to say is we have about 104 staff, and I think there's 5 guys. So I feel sorry for them, but it is all women, and I'm very, very proud that we are a company of women designing women's products. And I think the team, when it comes down to it, is we want to have teams that are cross-functional. So our e-commerce team, we're effecting this shortly, is going to be sitting next to our VP of Brand Creative, which will be sitting next to our customer service. So we want everyone to be cross-pollinating and in making sure that that even if you're at the top of the cake, you understand the pain points that the customer emailing in has about their shipping didn't arrive or their order was late. And I think it's our goal to make sure that we're asking PR, great that we got this article, but did it drive sales? So I think we're looking at optimizing each department into being the best department possible, and slowly we're going to be adding technology that really helps us do that with our staff.
And what's the sort of average age of your staff, meaning experience? Are you, are you looking for really experienced? Do you have a mix? Is there a generational difference that you sort of are bringing together? How do you think about that?
I think when we were growing the company, it was, cash was and still is very tight, and so it was great. You're first out of college, you're hired. And then we had a lot of people that this was their first, maybe second jobs. Then we realized that was awesome, but we needed some veterans to come in. Last year, we probably overhired veterans who were so stuck in the old model of working that they actually couldn't understand this new animal that has become, how the shopper shops, how she thinks, this millennial consumer, and even more different Gen Z. So I think we said, you know what, we don't really need that top layer to be as heavy, and if you are going to work here, you have to be nimble and be able to think like how an 18 or a 27-year-old woman thinks and shops. So we've actually thinned out the veterans to a little bit and really focused on really great logical thinkers, but who are tenacious and excited and don't have those old rules that kind of can hold some people back.
Now, other than having no cash at the beginning, right?
Yes.
I suspect there's been a few challenges as a leader growing the company. So I think one of the things that's really always helpful to know is, what are the things that have been hardest and how have you overcome them?
I think that there is a misnomer where you see the fanciness, you see the makeup, you see the fancy events, that it's easy and that there are no challenges. I think in the beginning it was the challenge of convincing our partners that what we were doing wasn't crazy. With working with bloggers, with working with different online outlets. I think now the conversations are even different. How do we disrupt it further? When we announced that we were going to a see, buy, wear fashion model, which to you probably sounds normal. Oh wait, I can see the clothes and buy them. Duh. To the fashion industry, this was mind-blowing and disruptive. And we said, you know what, it is because we're so old-fashioned in our industry, but it's not to the consumer who's so sick of seeing images of things, she can't buy 9 months from now. So those conversations where you're literally, hand-holding some partner saying, this is what you're gonna do now, and then you're gonna email this, and then you're gonna tell your customer that they can come shop the same day as the show. It's always kind of breaking through that we're not crazy, we're just trying to fix a broken system. But we've also had, early on, my first overseas factory took my name and Kate Spade's name and decided to put the hardware in a basket and shake it up. And I got some bags with Kate Spade hardware. She got some bags with Rebecca Minkoff hardware. I got a nickname like they do with celebrities called Quebeca Spankoff. So then I had to talk to my customers and say, I'm sorry, you actually got the golden ticket. Because you got that bag, you win another free bag. Or to, some of our leather shipped and had the surface of the leather got cloudy, because that's what happens to leather sometimes if it is cold and then humid. And then telling customers in Australia, don't send the bags back, just take a blow dryer and blow dry your bag. So we've had to do some really embarrassing, crazy things. And still to this day, I think, we had a fashion show a couple seasons ago where my brother said, okay, we're gonna have a wall like this where prior to the show, it'll be a feed that's hooked into Twitter, and if you use the hashtag, people can tag it and everyone can see what's happening. But what he didn't realize is once a tag becomes trending, then you get all kinds of scary people adding things. So some naked pictures were popping up on the screen. And some really embarrassing things that we actually had to take that down. And so those are the types of things that when you are experimenting, you just kind of have to go with the flow and take it in stride.
That's great. Well, I want to shift gears for a minute because, one of the things that always, as I think about your story is how you started. You spent your first 9 months sewing shirts and contributing the proceeds, right? And I know this is, how you began is how you've continued. And so I'd love to hear you talk about the work you're doing with Lauren Bush Lauren for feet.
Yeah.
And, because I know that's an important passion for you.
Yeah, I think I always try every year or probably every quarter to figure out an organization that I can work with to be able to give back. Usually it's a gut reaction of something that's happening now in the world that I feel passionate about. I would say I stalked Lauren for many years. With each collaboration and each launch event, I would go to be like, I'm here, I'm ready to work with you. So that finally actually happened, and we had a dinner 2 nights ago where we launched 3 different bags that we designed together. Each bag feeds between 30 and 70 children in different countries, and they're sold on our site and Lauren's site, and Nordstrom was a big supporter of it. But we've done things, for the last fashion show, we partnered with artist Curtis Kulig. You probably are familiar with his Love Me graffiti. And, for the fashion show, it was really important to send a message of female empowerment, female strength. This was just a couple weeks ago that we had the show. So all the proceeds from the sales of the bags that he decorated go to I Am That Girl, which is a nonprofit charity that seeks to make females and young girls feel stronger all over the US. They have different chapters. So I think it's, for me, some people take I'm gonna have one charity and I'm gonna just work with them and I'm all over the place. But I feel like I want to reach and touch different people and address different issues that are highly important to me during different times of the year.
That's great. And, it's funny when I first met you and I went home and I told my husband, I said, and I now have to go support her and buy a bag. and now, of course, I get to go home and say, and now I have to go support her and feed children and buy a bag, or maybe 2. So, it's totally. Now, before we open up for questions, one of the things we bonded about was we both have children.
Yes.
And, today is a lot about looking forward as well, and what's the world that we want to be in, and you certainly are passionate about changing that world. And so as you look forward and you think about your son and daughter, what's the vision you have that you're hoping that, someday when they're sitting on a stage that they're talking about? How do you think about their future and what we all need to be doing to change, to make it come true?
I think what was really interesting is we worked with Droga 5 on a deep dive into our brand pillars, and we worked with some incredibly talented women on this. And what came out of it surprised me. One of the women said, you know, your generation, the millennials and Gen Z, they don't even have a consideration that there is an inequality. She said it already is equal. And I was like, really? I feel like I hear a lot about it. So each generation, you know, had different feelings. There's the generation that had to break through. You know, the president of my company, the story she tells me about what she had to do to fight for her place in her role astounds me. And then there's the next generation. I said, Gen Z really feels like it's already equal? Okay. Let me talk to, you know, some people and see if that is the majority. And they don't do this work based on feeling. They do a lot of social listening. They have incredible metrics that support this. And I think when I look at my social group and how we're raising our children, I can tell you that for sure, at least in, you know, in the United States, or with the you know, people I see, we're raising our children that they don't feel that way, or they don't know that there's a difference. And you know, sometimes it's these aha moments. I never bought my daughter girly toys, maybe because I'm cheap, but I was like, just play with your brothers, you know. So she was into Hulk and Captain America, and I wasn't like, I'm gonna raise a gender neutral child. I was just like, we have all these toys, just play with those. And I was like, okay, that's just what she likes. And it took me, you know, one day she finally said, I want red nails too. And I was like, oh, okay, we can do that stuff too. So I think it was this awakening of, I'm not raising you to fit in a certain hole. And I think there's so many women that I know that aren't raising their daughters and sons to fit into certain holes, that I really feel, and there's such an ability of people being more open and optimistic about, you feel this way, awesome, let's embrace it. And I think that allows people to actually already not have all the setbacks that many of us have felt in our careers, and just be free to be who they are.
That's great. Now, my husband taught my children all about Star Wars. And I said, oh, honey, is this because you really want them to, like, you know, not be all about girly? And he's like, no, it's like I can't stand the other shows. And Star Wars is really cool. And I said, okay, whatever way we got there, we're there.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that it's amazing, and it's just so hopeful, right, as we see the way our children are being raised and the world we're creating. So I'd love to open it now up to some questions. And so we'll raise the lights and...
Hi there. My name's Christine. I work at Accenture. I'm the proud owner of one of your clutches, your original clutch, and I'm carrying one of your backpacks now.
Hey.
My question is, I'm so curious, how do you think things would have been different for you if your parents would have written you a check or two? And if one of your children down the road asks you for financial support, what would you say?
So if they had written me a check or two, I would have burned through that money and wasted it. And I do the same with my children, as hard as it is. I don't not buy them anything, but they have to, I've already started the earning system with them too. You know, you want something, here's the list of things that you get to do to contribute to the house. It's a list of stamps. When you get a certain amount of stamps, you know, we'll buy you something. So I think I'm trying to instill that as much as possible, that if they want something, it's earned. And I'll probably take a hard line, as uncomfortable as it is later on with bigger items. But for now, that's the approach I'm taking, even though it's hard for me to know, this felt terrible my whole life. I just wanted you to buy me the sewing machine so I could sew, you know, my clothes. But I had to babysit for it. Or, you know, I wanted the 90210 Barbie set, but I had to babysit for it. So I think that feeling of, gosh, all my other friends get whatever they want. Even though I know that's a terrible feeling, I know in the long run it'll be better for them.
I'm Laura. I also work for Accenture. So you spoke a lot about being a pioneer in the industry. You want digital, you use water, people that that's crazy. So I'm curious to hear from you, with the retail industry that has changed, because customer shopping habits are changing, the way you're doing things is changing. What is one action item that you would say is the most important for retail fashion?
I think that things are shifting more quickly than they ever have to a direct-to-consumer model, and getting out of any unprofitable businesses that might make you look big and powerful and strong, but really all you're doing is at the end of the day, you're still back to a zero with, selling at a store, then taking the goods back, or paying for the markdown, paying to have the honor to advertise in the store book, funding an associate at that store. So I think we're taking a look at how do we just get as close to her as possible? How does she want to be serviced? And really making that relationship the top priority, even if it means, maybe you shrink a little, but at least it's real transactions and real growth.
Right. And what do you think, just before we get into the question, that's what I'm thinking, one of the questions is, where do you think this innovative gene came for you, right? Because it's really been there from the beginning, right? And because I think, part of what we're trying to think about here is how do you lead in the new, right? And it has seemed very natural to you. And do you have advice for, those of us who maybe it's not as natural as to how to find that innovation, how to find, that creativity or tap into to be able to be disruptive or participate in it?
I think it's a few things. I think, again, with the Droga 5 work that we did, it was sort of boiling down the brand pillars to an essence, and that essence was a fearlessness that I had, or a fearlessness that my brother had when he kind of took everything he had and threw it in the toilet and started with me. So I think, we decided our brand is inspiring women to lead a more fearless life. But I think you can take that approach to anything you do. You might have sweaty palms, you might have butterflies in your stomach, but the odds are that the person in front of you doesn't know that's happening. So how do you take each decision? If it makes you uncomfortable, I would say do it. To be fearless in that, and the more wins you have and the more you can know what boundaries you can push, I think the more confidence you'll have going in. I also think having a collaborator, having someone, whether it's a partner or a friend or a mentor, that you can bounce ideas off of. My brother and I do that all the time. We also encourage it with our team. If you have a great idea on our team, it doesn't matter what department you're in. We want to hear about it. And if it's a good idea, we adopt it, we give you the credit for it, and really make that dialogue safe so that people can come forward and say, I had an idea, what do you think?
That's great. Well, thank you. That's a perfect way to end, to be fearless.
Yes.
And so, Rebecca, thank you so much
for
coming here today and sharing your story.
Thank you.